Hi, welcome to AutoRetro, the podcast where we talk to people about the cars of their lives. I'm David.
And I'm Ed. And today we have an interesting guest because it's someone who we've never met before.
That's right.
His name is Colin.
Well, we've met him now. We haven't just dragged him in off the street.
Off the street. We should try that. His name is Colin Doherty, and he runs the Original Engines Co. Welcome, Colin.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, David. As an avid enthusiast in the automotive industry and vehicles, and for many, many years, it should be great to share some stories.
Excellent.
We look forward to it. And as I said, normally, I guess one of us has met them or we know them, but this is exciting. There's a whole raft of stories none of us have heard.
Yeah. Exactly new for all of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can uncover some silly
Mysteries,
stories or
some gems.
The
way it normally starts is that we actually
rewind.
We ask you to think back and what's your earliest car memory?
Okay. It was a neighbour. I was 15 years of age. My neighbour had a Ford Prefect, 1957 Ford Prefect.
Oh, yeah, I know those.
And
Little round.
Yeah, it had the round little lights that were extended
sort of
underneath.
Upright
and like the grill had the lines in the grill,
sort of grill,
flat grill.
Yeah.
And it was I guess it was like a British racing green, so it was
Most of them were, I think.
Yeah, I think they were. They were just a bland colour Ford Prefect. I loved it anyhow. His name was Ian. He couldn't get it running, and I used to just tinker around. I liked,
how hard could it be?
Hey Ian, I'm 15. I know nothing about cars. Can I have a crack?
And I remember I was out the front. Oh no, I can't get this rotten thing running, and and I don't know. I just want to get rid of it. And I was with a mate, and I said, "We'll have it.
We'll have it. We'll have it.
Yeah." He did. Yeah, no worries.
It's a free car.
Julian,
who doesn't want a free car?
You can have this. So we did. So I used to bang around the streets in East Doncaster. But we got it going.
Okay.
Nothing spark plugs and some points. Didn't fix it.
That
was it. Yeah.
Nice.
We got it running.
And a good introduction to fixing engines, which is where you've ended up now all these years later.
It is, yes. It's funny how we evolve into that, but it's...
So I'm guessing at 15 that wasn't particularly licensed driving necessarily? It was a long time ago.
I won't go too much into that.
It was
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Things we used to get up to, I guess, but
right.
Just don't tell anybody.
So is that the car you learnt to drive in, do you think? Was there a family car?
Oh, well, there was a family car, yeah. We had the old Valiants in the day. My dad, his family's Chrysler. Slant 6 Hemi, Hemi, the 215, which I was devastated when my dad bought it because I wanted him to get a 265. So I was always like, performance orientated.
Yeah, we don't want the
biggest and
model.
best. And
don't want the
Aren't dads they're always so sensible.
Yeah.
Like I campaigned for a rear spoiler and a sunroof for years. No, not having that. It's the same thing.
Waste of money.
Yeah.
No,
Waste
exactly. It's just
but he'd go to dealerships and talk it up, and I'd be getting all excited, and he'd come home with, the base model and smallest engine.
So
come on, Dad, what are you doing?
No Regals or VIPs in that.
So I was the total opposite. So when I went and bought vehicles, I had
the biggest.
Had to have something.
So what came after the Prefect? What was the next?
Okay, I bought a HR Holden.
Okay. Brand new or second-hand?
No, it was second hand. I had over 100,000 miles on it.
Ooh, back then.
Back then, a red HR Holden.
Which is a 67 model?
It was a 67.
Yeah.
67 or 66, around 67.
Yep.
Just a special, HR special.
Yep. So that came after the EH. So didn't they?
HD.
Oh, HD.
HD was had the points next to the headlights there.
That's right.
And they had to cull them because that was a danger. Safety aspects with the HD. I love the HD Holden though. I think they look amazing. But I bought a HR and of course I pulled the engine out. It was the first thing I did. And
what happened to that motor? Did it get replaced with a bigger motor?
No. I sent it out to get it machined. I wasn't into machining or engine machining or automotive, reconditioning or anything like that. But so I in my career I started off in engineering, fitting and machining and aviation.
So you did have skills in doing this stuff.
Oh, look, I just loved tinkering. It was just one of those things. So we removed the engine, and I remember going to Reg Press back in the day, and he bought it out to a 192 and
nice.
we put the Yellowterra head on it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, it did all the good things.
Yellowterra heads were a real thing. Everyone says that. Yellowterra head.
It was, that was a wonderful business, really, and you got to give credit to
bringing that bit of performance to suburban masses, kind of.
Exactly.
It was
right.
that was just they set the standards.
Yeah.
Absolutely set the standards for the Holden. The Holden was their thing. The Holden cylinder heads. They did the V8s. The 53 308 heads. And they work. The good thing is they work.
Yeah.
You bolted them on and you
felt
had
that
instant performance, and it was great value
and
for money.
100,000 miles, back then on a car like that is quite a lot. It's 160,000 K in today's speak. But, that's why people had such a thing about that 100,000 magic mark.
That's
Because
right.
it was like, 100,000 there.
It's had it.
It's getting a bit tight.
Yeah.
Whereas now people go, it's done 100,000 K. And you're like, well, and like...
Well, I guess with that too, Ed, you learn that, I did this U-Butte engine, put the Holly 500 on it and the extractors and all the rest of it. And this thing only had, it didn't have disc brake front end. It just had the...
That's the next upgrade.
And it didn't stop.
That's the next upgrade.
So, you just learn along your way. Well, it went really well. But, I used to break bell housings and gearboxes and diffs. And
you learn all those weak points.
And so you progressed. And my next vehicle from that was a Ford. I bought an XA Falcon.
Oh, yep.
Which I thought it was a really good car.
Which would have been a very modern car.
It was a big jump
HR.
into that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot
Coke
of money
bottle
back then.
styling.
It was. Look, and I still to this day I love the XA Falcon. I think it's just one of the best looking Falcons.
Well, am I right in that there was an Italian design house involved in those? Am I making it up? I thought Bertone or someone was involved in the styling somehow.
That would be news to me. I don't remember hearing that.
Maybe edit that out. I'm talking shit.
No, well, it was from they evolved from the XY Falcon.
Yeah.
They went to XY to XA, and totally different.
Yeah.
And they would have had some serious designers. And
well, the XA was.
I'll Google that
It was
later.
around the time of the HQ Holden.
It was, yeah. So that was a rivalry, HQ or
right.
XA Falcon.
But of course, the XA came in the coupes were really impressive in those too.
The coupes are just
huge.
That's the Mad Max car, isn't it?
That's
Was
right.
that
that was the XB.
XB.
Same shape.
Yeah.
XB Falcon. Well, and I think you're right. Mad Max really planted the XB Falcon.
Yeah,
exactly right.
On the map.
Movie cars.
Big time.
Any movie cars, that's
you're
in.
Yeah,
Exactly
it is,
right.
isn't it weird how a movie just it can just make a vehicle.
Look at the Aston Martin from Sean Connery. What is it? DB.
The DB4, DB45. I think
Yep.
it could be 5. Yeah.
Look at the beetle in the love bug. There you go.
Herbie
The Mustang, 67 Mustang
Exactly.
Eleanor,
Yes,
going to 60
yes,
seconds, and
yes.
Ferris Bueller and the
Ferrari.
250 Ferrari.
Yes.
I mean, they're just the price you cannot physically buy. Your 1962 250 California. You just cannot buy one.
No,
And,
that's insane.
So tell us more about the XA.
The XA, did the motor come out of that?
No, I didn't touch it.
Really?
You have to. 302
Okay.
V8.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just I only had it for a few years.
Sedan wagon.
Sedan. So it was sedan.
What did you do with your weekends in that car? Because you're not pulling
Not
the engine
tinkering.
in and out. You're not tinkering. You're just turning the key.
We put exhaust systems and we put bigger wheels on it. And
There was still stuff.
and
Good,
it was,
good.
Yeah,
enjoying myself as a young guy, I suppose. You're partying on and all that sort of thing. But
Good.
in that back, you always had that passion for vehicles and what you did. So I didn't have it for very long.
Yep.
Passed that one on, and I went into the Japanese vehicles.
Okay.
So we
That's
bought
quite a stray.
the Dados.
The Dados.
Dados,
Dados,
yeah.
yeah.
The 70s loved a Dado.
Yeah, they did.
A lot of people loved
Dados were good. It was the 200B Triple S, the two-door.
Two-door coupe.
Nice.
Yep.
That was
Fully
a beautiful
imported.
car. It was absolutely
Fully imported.
Yep.
fully imported. And I bought it second. I just come across it at this car yard. I can't remember
Did
exactly
they know
what car yard.
Did they know what they had? Like, do you think they knew
No.
what it was, or it
No.
was just an old?
No.
Well, it wouldn't have been that old. It would have been. Like, how old would that car have been when you got it?
Well, it was only about 3 or 4 years old when I bought
not
it,
that
so it wasn't that old, and I don't think it was a lot of money either.
So 5-speed they were, I think.
It was
too,
a
and
5-speed, but it had the first gear
like a
across
get
and
drag
down,
box almost,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
and then you'd shift. You go from first to was it fourth. You go first to fourth.
Yes.
And
I
unless
no
you
idea
really
they
got
had-
used to it, it's.
I didn't know they did that in the gearbox.
Yeah, Datsun toyed with that for even up to the Stanza Triple S had that same gearbox.
They did, correct, yeah.
But in the Stanza, they'd finally actually worked out they had to put a beeper on when you selected reverse. In those
because
so many people would select reverse and take off and go backwards.
Take off the wrong way and run into the person behind.
That's right. Well, what they thought was first, which was actually
top
reverse.
tip: if you're looking to buy one, check the rear bar
A
for
200
damage.
Triple S, that's right, or a Datsun Stanza Triple S.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But going from your XA into that, that's very different.
Yeah, from
It was different. It was.
to...
I guess that's a great. It's a good point. It's why would I go from a V8 Falcon? When you watch the 1-2 at Bathurst, with the XCs and that they were out, Ford Cobras in XC. I just love those things too.
Yeah.
But it was just this. I came across this vehicle. I just loved it. I thought it was just gorgeous.
The look of it.
Just the look of it. It was unique. So I like things that are a bit unique like that. Yeah. So we purchased the 200B Triple S and. I did some work. The engine came out, of course.
We're back to taking the engine out.
The L20B. What a great engine the old L20B is. Oh, I love those things.
So what did you
single
do to
overhead
that?
cam. The engine came out, work on the cylinder head, ported the cylinder head, bored it out, of course.
Yeah.
As big as oversized as I could. And,
Yeah.
Balanced the crankshaft and did all the engine bits and pieces to enhance it. Webbers, side draft Webbers.
So it went a lot better at the end of
but the beauty with that, I talk about the HR, you put this big engine and everything else would break, but it was actually a really sturdy, solid car, the Dados.
So
they could put up with a
else-
lot of, and you take that thing on a dirt or like a rally, you really
big
just
in rallying.
knew how good it was.
Yes, yeah.
It was a brilliant car, and it had all the gauges. The dash, if anybody wants to look, the 200B Triple S interior was spectacular. It was sporty.
This is round.
They had all the round gauges,
a lot of round
all
gauges.
across the top. A lot of round gauges.
Two big ones in front of you and then the smaller ones off
Round,
to the
round,
off to
round,
the
round,
left.
And it had all those enhancements. That's what I fell in love with, I guess, because it was like a race car, really.
Yeah.
It was
Especially
designed.
compared to an XA.
And the way it sat, it was squat, it was quite low to the ground, had very good suspension. The suspension in it was next level.
Yeah.
Well, they rallied a lot, didn't they, the Dados?
They did.
I know, but my uncle rallied a 1600 and the 1800s, I think we were talking just
180Bs.
before. 180Bs, yeah. They were independent rear and rally-esque. So they lent themselves to that.
Yeah, they did. And
So what happened next?
oh
No, am I going to like this?
no, it was. I went back into the Holden era. I bought a HQ Monaro.
Nice.
So I had HQ Monaro.
I'm guessing that's one of the cars you wish you still had.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if only we had the crystal ball, I guess.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
Look,
Money in the bank
was
these
a
days.
beautiful HQ Monaro. Low Ks. I remember driving to Melton to go and buy this second hand.
Yeah.
And it had these just horrible wheels on it. But I looked through all
Yeah,
that.
you can see it.
308 4-speed, the all Aussie box, and
So it was a GTS, I'm presuming?
It was a GTS.
Okay, because the HQ Monaro, I remember them fondly because you could get a base model and you could get the GTS or you could get an LS. So the LS was more Premier based.
The LS was, they were gorgeous. They were that maroon colour with the gold.
And the
LS.
quad headlights.
That's
from
right.
the Premier front and the burl plastic walnut on the dashboard instead of the machine.
So this was more premium finishing rather than big motor.
That's right.
Although you
That's
could
right.
get
that
them
was
with
the
a big
luxury
motor.
coupe, whereas the GTS was.
GTS
But the GTS had the houndstooth.
Yes,
seats.
Yeah,
And
lovely.
they were. I thought they were beautiful.
Oh, they're still beautiful cars.
Didn't steer too well. They needed power
No,
steering.
they went well in a straight line.
They did. A bit like a truck to drive, but once again the engine come out.
Yeah.
I think I was about 22 when I bought that.
Yep.
Quite young.
Yeah.
And that started the engine. I was in aviation industry as a machinist, as an engineer. Well, I went into mechanical engineering from that.
Yep.
Always had that passion for vehicles. I just wanted to. I love the Monaro too. The Monaro was great. HQ. It was only the 4-door. It wasn't the coupe.
Yeah.
It was the 4-door.
Yeah.
Monterey green.
Yep.
Good colour.
great colour.
Colour. They did some funky colours in those.
They did.
There was a purpley.
There was a lettuce alone. Was one of them.
Is that what it's called?
Lettuce alone.
Lettuce
They
alone.
had some great.
Lettuce alone.
Yeah, that was the limey green.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mandarin red was popular back
I
then
love that
too.
you know the names of these days.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
sad, isn't
impressive.
That is impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, well,
amazing.
you knew Monterey Green. Monterey Green.
Monterey Green.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Monterey Green. Gorgeous colour.
Yeah.
And look, the car itself was in beautiful. You could see it had a little bit of crow's feet from sitting out in the weather and had low Ks, but the engine had to come out because it was V8 308. I had all these ideas and aspirations, so on went the Yellowterra heads, and we did all the.
So it didn't need to come out because
We put the big camshafts in and the valve springs and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
The all Aussie box that handled it okay, but I broke a few diffs and a few clutches but I guess what this was what would it have been in the mid 80s? Yeah, mid 80s, mid to early 80s. Drag racing was a big thing out at Calder Park, street drags.
Yeah.
And I had the passion for a bit of drag racing.
So
Okay.
Out you went with the
Out we
outside.
went. We took the HQ out.
And how did it
ended up? Well, we started off in doing. I think first run was about high 15s, but we got into the 14-second
That's
bracket.
pretty damn quick.
That's quick.
And with all the mucking around, and this was still with an all Aussie gearbox, which is not ideal for drag racing, not at all. We ended up cracking a 13-second quarter mile in it.
That's
and
very
that was,
quick.
Yeah, loved doing that.
Yeah.
Loved doing that. But you kind of fall out of love with doing that thing as well. Just keep going with that.
Well,
But,
there seems to be a braking theme, like diffs and gearboxes.
It gets
and stuff,
expensive.
So
Yeah.
It does get expensive. And
absolutely,
time-consuming,
it gets
doesn't
expensive. And I guess that's if you want to continue. But that's where these beautiful old classic vehicles, yes, they do break if you do any enhancements with them. But now what I love is just the older classics that you put new technology into.
Yep.
I just love that.
Like a resto mod. You know?
I know the enthusiasts and the diehard purists would hate that, but I love that. It's just, I guess I like technology too, but they have that awe of beautiful looking vehicles that
but it's also a way of it living on though, like people have asked me before, Ed, would you ever pull any motors out of your cars and put electric motors in? I mean, that's the extreme of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I said, well, if it comes to a point where you can't drive it anymore, there's no fossil fuel, and the only way is to put an EV motor in it to be able to use it, well, I probably would do it, if I had to, rather than having it sit there as a museum piece. And I can't get it out on the road. So, I mean, resto modding is...
Then it becomes an expensive bit of art,
Oh,
doesn't it?
well, exactly, yeah.
That's right.
But
Well,
that's a way of, if it makes it livable and it makes you turn the key and use it, a bit like an e-bike. If it makes you ride...
That's right.
Well, you better not riding as in riding an e-bike than not riding at all,
Absolutely, and if you wanted to put an electric... I've seen some European cars with conversions of electric powered. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I think, well, once again, it's the way we're evolving in industry.
It's not my preference, but...
No, it's not my preference either. I'd rather put a beautiful engine in there of some description that would replace, not the electric powered.
And sometimes manufacturers get it right, and they spend, like we say, millions of dollars developing something. Sometimes they just don't.
Yep.
Sometimes they're cost cutting. They would love to put Brembo brakes on, but they didn't because it'd cost them $500 extra per car.
That's
When
right.
you're selling X number of million worldwide, well, hey, this ain't viable. So,
And for most people, they're totally adequate. But if you want to do something else to it and race
so
it,
I think it's horses for courses.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But even the way it's evolved now with vehicles, and they do have the big Brembo brakes, and they've got everything that relates to a top high performance vehicle, like near on race prepared. To be honest, it's just unbelievable.
Out of the box.
And,
out of the box, and let alone to the Mustang that I own now, which is the aspect that has a supercharged. It's a Herod. Robbie Herod designed this with Ford.
Yeah.
I've got one of those vehicles. There's one of 500.
Okay.
Limited. This is an exciting car.
It is just gorgeous.
And knowing engines, and we'll get into more of what you do in a minute, but knowing engines would appreciate that more than a lot of people probably.
Yes, it has the V8 5-litre Coyote engine, and I suppose being a remanufacturer for Ford Motor Company, that I love that engine. I guess I have to, really.
Yeah.
But it is. It's you just get in this vehicle, and it's got the Magna Ride suspension. It has their manual gearbox. They didn't bring them out in an auto because they didn't pass the environmental or the EPA specifications. Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently they made too much noise or whatever they did, so they put manuals. I guess that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I have to have a manual, I'll have a manual.
And it's got like 700 plus horsepower, this thing. And,
yikes.
but you can drive this normally. It's just a beautiful car. It sounds so good.
Well, if I remember correctly from before, your wife's in it right now.
Yes, she is. She went shopping in it.
So,
I think we heard it coming down the street, and I said to Michael, that sounds like our guest.
It sounds like something.
Yeah.
Well, that's a sign of a good car when they're usable like that.
That's right.
For anyone to jump in, that's
a
real bonus.
And I guess that's where we're at in the way we've evolved in automotive, and I guess it scares you've got electric vehicles coming on board now, but is the internal combustion engine ever going to go? Oh, well, I hope not. I hope not.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
I mean, it's my industry as well, so
bring on e-fuel. I say, bring on e-fuel.
Yeah,
synthetic
correct.
fuels. Yeah.
So we've gone Holden, then we went Falcon, then we went Holden.
Yes.
Then we went Datsun.
Then we went
Dado.
back to Holden.
Oh, then back to Holden. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
back
now
to
we're mid 80s somewhere.
Well, I went and bought another HR again in my journeys. Yeah,
Reliving
because I just
youth.
loved HR Holdens. They just look so good.
Straight back
But this
to-
was just like one of my sidekick cars
Yeah.
that I bought.
Yeah.
Once again, the engine came out of that, but
So the
but that was more standard. So
Yeah.
I was a bit more of the purist, where I got the identical paint and all the stickers from
Yeah.
Rare Spares. And
you got
all
into the
that.
whole resto.
The whole
thing.
resto,
Yeah,
and I went, I don't like this. So I
Yeah.
sold it.
Now the HR, I think you could get an X2 option.
You
Couldn't
can with the dual carburetors.
Yeah.
I've
I
read
remember
about that
seeing
in the
the
magazine.
X2
Really rare.
badge.
X2, very rare.
Yes.
Worth a lot of money in this.
Yes.
That
yeah.
classic
If you can find
car
one.
Australia magazine, whatever it's called. Classic. What is that one called?
Unit cars.
No, not Unique.
No.
The other one. The Australian classic car, something they used to do. Oh, maybe it was Unique cars. Anyway, one of them, it was Aussie.
Yep.
And that, they featured one of those X2s in it. And they
Yeah.
were saying, I'd never heard of it.
They had a different exhaust manifold and different intake manifold with the twin SU carburetors.
Wow.
Yep.
The downdraft carburetors.
It was developed, correct me if I'm wrong, and you'll know, to compete with the Falcon GT at the time, was it? The
Yes, it
XR?
was. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it was sort of they're
It's
trying
when the
to play
XR
catch up.
when the XR Falcon they had the 289. Sorry, they didn't have SUs. They were just a downdraft Stromberg.
Yep.
They had. Sorry,
Yep.
I rephrased myself on that one.
Starts with S.
I'll get in trouble if I say SUs. And I had a Mini. I've had a Mini as well.
Oh, there
in
you
my
go.
journey.
You
I've
missed
had
the
lots.
Mini.
Hang on, when did you have minis? Was that in the 80s?
When I just got married and we didn't have a lot of money, and
Very economical.
once again I had someone gave me a car, so we got
Okay.
the Mini.
The best
It had the
size.
998
Yeah.
out that come, and an 1100 crank went in it, 20 SUs on that, and had the floats on fluid suspension, and
Did you rip
that's
that
a
out?
ripping little car.
Did you
though.
rip out the hydroelastic suspension?
Yeah, absolutely. That was gone.
Gone.
Yeah, gone. Next. Yeah.
That's exactly what my car is. It's 998 stock hydroelastic. So I won't loan it
Won't
to
be
you.
ripped. No, don't lend it to him.
No, I don't really want that one. You can
have
hold
that.
on to that one. Yeah. No.
Oh, they're fun though. They're a great
That
fun.
absolute fun car, and my wife just loved it to death. It was we put the young bloke in the back, and
Yeah.
Yep.
we're only young, and
So this would have been late 80s.
it was it was probably 86, 87 that
Yeah,
we bought
cool.
the Mini.
Yep.
It was a Leyland one. It wasn't the Morris.
Okay,
So it was
so-
after a 72. I think it was a
So square
72.
nose, front
Yeah,
nose.
yeah. Ripping little car.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
I loved it, and
Good fun.
they screamed. You just do a little bit of work, and
Yes.
They were
You just-
that A series was very tunable.
Very customized.
always.
totally.
You know,
Yeah.
and people would bore them out. The 998s, I think, to 1100, and then 1275 was
1275 was
the biggest
the
they
ants
went
pants.
factory.
Yeah.
But then you could take that to 1330 or 1340 and
Correct.
quite safely,
Yeah.
and with cams and carbs and a bit of breathing and extractors, and suddenly, oh hello, this
hey,
thing's
got a race
and they
car.
didn't weigh a lot.
Yeah.
So
But to respect a Mini, you really need to own one to actually understand what a fun car they are.
Yep.
Really, and the Cooper S's are just like anybody that owns a Cooper S. I think that you'd hang on to it, because they're so unique now.
If anyone's in doubt as to how cool mini racing is, they just need to Google Goodwood Revival.
Oh, the Goodwood,
mini racing, and it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Goodwood
crazy
Revival
fun.
being the massive meet in Goodwood in the UK once a year, isn't it?
Yep, September. And they go very well.
Well, even here at Bathurst, they do the classics at Bathurst, and they would have the Mustangs and the Minis out there all together battling it out.
And the Minis would kill them.
On the corners.
They'd rule Bathurst back in the, I think it was like 64, 63, 64, 65. I think it was a 67 when the big Falcons came out.
66
XR Falcon, I think.
And then 67, the XR.
Well, that's the year my grandmother bought hers, 66, so she must have watched the race.
Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
That was the car for her. So what happened after that? The economical crisis.
I now have to put my thinking hat on what I had. I've had that many vehicles. It's like,
we don't have to list every one, but
no.
Going into the late 80s, early 90s. What
VL Turbo was one. I bought that brand new.
Wow.
When I still had the HQ Monaro in all that time, so that kind of was really hard to let go of that car. Really, really difficult to let go. But I did. I started a business in 1990. So I had to let the HQ go.
The toys
go.
I
got near $20,000 for that back in 1990.
Wow.
It was a lot of money because it was that good. You could kind of see back in the early 90s how vehicles were really starting to appreciate your true classics. Were starting to appreciate. I had the VL Turbo. That was a great vehicle. The Holden. Once again, the Holden came into me.
Except it's a Nissan engine.
But those RB engines, and I got it. I was working for HM Engines at the time, and we did the RB engines as part of the program. So I did a bit of a development with them on RBs. They are just
they're tough
one
as
of
nails, aren't they?
My favourite engines has been in my industry for a long time. The RB, the RB25, RB26 in your GDRs. They're just so unique, those things too. I never owned one. Probably wish I had but I never got into that top end Nissan. But they
and those are quite tunable too. They're pretty tough.
They are so robust and strong, and you don't have to do a lot to them, like the internals, so they can take near 1,000 horsepower. Really, so much boost and
smooth being inline
smooth.
Six.
Inline six. Look, an inline six is one of the best design engines ever. They make so much power. They're torquey, responsive. Your V6s has harmonic problems, and I guess really that we've gone away from an inline six to a V6 because of space
isn't it?
height, aerodynamics and everything with the vehicle weight. Is why the industry went to V6s. But the old Barra engines for the Falcons, going back to the turbo engine, the BA turbo. Well, that was just that released so much. There was so much money now those engines. If you had a Barra turbo,
we have a good friend that has a Typhoon.
Well, I've had a Typhoon. That's one of my many vehicles that I had when I went and evolved into Ford. And I can tell you a story how I went from Holden to Ford.
What happened? What was the
catalyst? Okay, here we go.
Strap yourself in.
I'll fill you in what happened. So I had my company and I was engaged. I started doing some engineering for Ford with the BA. So I made the connecting rods for the BA turbo. So I had a manufacture program, TDC engines. Is back in we developed that in 1990, and in 2001, when the BA Turbo came out, I was approached. It was out for tender, this program. I knew I had the skills to do it. I put my hand up. We did some nice custom engineering, and we won the contract. So I started doing the BA, and it started with really low volumes. Colin, we're looking at probably, maybe 500 conrods per week. Well, that turned into 5,000 conrods a week,
Wow.
because it was just such a popular that just took off. That saved Ford really from the AU to the BA was
Huge leap.
It was a big jump.
It was a bit, but that Barra engine is just a gorgeous engine too, as good as your RB engine. So you had two inline 6-cylinder engines that just made so much smooth, quiet, powerful, beautiful intake design. Exhaust. They sounded great. They responded with a bit of wind, a bit of turbocharging.
Yeah, absolutely. They did.
And so we were doing the Conrods, and then I got associated with more and more association with the Ford Motor Company. Got some credibility with doing that program for them. So I ended up doing a lot of work, and then I started doing some work for FPV with the 5.4 engines that came out in. So they were having a bit of trouble with the 5.4. And so you're gone from this big whacking V8 that, well, really it's a truck motor, those old 5.4. They were horrible engines.
Well, they'd been around since XA times, hadn't they?
The 5.4, I'm not sure when, but the American engine.
The 5.8.
No, the 5.4. This is a twin overhead cam.
Yep.
Boss engine. The Boss 5.4, which came out with the BA Falcon. Really heavy, and they used to.
So sort of agricultural.
Very agricultural. In the US, they were truck motor is what they were, but they put these like 4-valve twin overhead cam cylinder heads on them. So I was doing some work for FPV. We were developing or helping. They were having some problems with bearings and such. So I got involved with engineering departments with Ford, and at that time I bought myself a 2010 GDS, beautiful GDS Holden, 6.2.
This is while you're doing a lot of work for Ford, you bought that.
I did. Yeah. I had this Holden kind of...
cheeky, very cheeky behaviour.
Yeah. But anyhow, I parked this beautiful vehicle in their car park.
Oh.
And they said, who the F is driving that?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty much. They come up now, Mr. Doherty, do you own that?
That red car?
Yeah. Well, look, you know what? We're going to have to get you to move that and park out in the street. I couldn't park it in their car park.
So you could have said, no, it's for evaluation. I'm seeing the competition,
But this, I guess, goes back to the rivalry between Holden and Ford. You don't know how ingrained it is within the companies. It's just amazing. You just would not realise you get posed with that question. No, you need to. That car doesn't fit in our car park. Out it goes. Okay.
And you wouldn't want to leave a GTS out on the street, actually, to be perfectly
honest. No, I wasn't keen about that. Wasn't keen because it was a gorgeous car. They are beautiful.
So it stayed for a while, and then you succumbed.
What had happened is I involved myself more and more with Ford engineering to the point where, my next car after that, it was the GTR spec in 2012. They only made 350 of them, I think.
Okay.
That's rare.
And it was the end of like the FPV release of, towards the end of it.
Yeah.
So they did a special. It was the R spec. They called them GTR spec. It was the black with the red wheels and had the red stripe.
Hot.
And I remember talking to my wife. I probably have to sell this and in a knowing with Ford, because they were very difficult to get. So, your relationships, I managed to procure one of those the R specs, and beautiful car. And that's the one I just put aside, and I thought this will be appreciate and be worth and it probably is now. I mean, so that hence bye Holdens.
Yep.
So we jumped over to the Ford camp, and I know you're Holden enthusiast, probably won't like that. What are you doing? But it's about industry.
It's all kinds. At least you've experienced both.
That's right.
Some are born into it, and they'll never jump.
Yep.
So
from that on, I bought myself an old XY Falcon. It was a GT replica. And I've worked on MAD on that thing as well. I still have that today.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So the motors come out of that.
Oh yeah, that's got
several
something
times,
totally different. Which I will. In fact, we're going to do a blog on my website about my XY coming out soon. So it's nearly finished. The car.
Okay.
I've worked many years on this vehicle.
So what motor is in it now?
It's a Cleveland. So I stuck with the Cleveland, the V8 Cleveland, but it's got CHI heads and all sorts of goodies
Yum.
Yep.
in it.
I look forward to reading that blog.
Yeah. No, it will be an interesting build. So I kind of done it up as a tribute race vehicle, I guess.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Brilliant.
a tribute XY race vehicle, but it is like you'd look at it, it's an XY GT.
Yep.
It's
that's
lovely.
very cool.
It's different, totally different. But we'll check that out.
Well, yeah, at TBC, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the
absolutely.
other cars that have come since then, have they been still Fords?
All Fords.
Because obviously there's the Mustang you talked about before.
Yeah, Mustang.
And then in between,
yeah.
there's just been Ford.
Ford.
Including Typhoon.
I had the BA Typhoon.
Yep.
Yep, that was in 2005. I bought that. So
That's what our
That's when I was doing the Conrods. So I had to buy a vehicle that I was doing Conrods for. So.
Yeah. I did though.
Show a bit of faith in your own
my
product.
Conrod's in that vehicle, you know. that was a wicked car.
Yeah.
My wife wouldn't drive it though.
No?
No.
What didn't she like about it?
The turbo lag. No, but you'd be on an incline, and it wasn't the easiest thing to drive. Like, she couldn't quite get the amount of revs you had to give it when you to say, and there would be a lag, and the turbo used to come on pretty hard on that thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, got all this whoosh, you know. Oh, I don't like driving this car, you know. But it was a real driver's car.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was just a driver's car. So.
Our friend's got one, and I've driven that a couple of times. And is his BA or BA2?
BA2.
I think it's BA2. We'll have to get that right because he'll be
Yes,
listening to
he
this,
will.
and if I get it wrong,
We'll get a nasty text.
And that car, I call it he goes, "What do you think about it, Ed?" The first time I drove it, and I said, "It's like a velvet glove. You know, it's forceful, but it's quite comfortable, and quite cosseted. You know, it's a lovely touring car."
Yeah. So it was, but it was a great car though. I love the Typhoon. Really, sometimes I wonder why I sold that as well. But it's just the
always
journey we
something
go on. It's the
more,
journey we
you
go
know.
on. But
Are there any other standouts between that and the Mustang that you've got now?
There probably is. I just have to think
No.
what else I've had. I've had lots of vehicles, but
Well,
So-
while we ruminate on that, we've got to hear more about original engine.
Yes.
oh
because
yeah.
This is something I didn't even know was a thing.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
So tell us about how, I mean, to the novice, like me, about an hour ago, I would have thought if you had a problem with a manufacturer's engine, say I was a Land Rover or a Ford or something, and my engine's gone bang, I would have thought that they would keep that in-house and that they would get a block off the shelf from overseas or wherever and build you up another engine. This is under an extreme circumstance when an engine's gone bang under warranty or something like that.
Yep.
Which does happen. So I would have thought they'd keep that in-house. They make the blocks in the first place, and case closed.
Yeah.
This
Pay the bill.
engine is not getting touched, or this particular case is not getting touched by anyone else. But for what you've told me an hour ago is that ain't the case.
No, it's not. So quite unique, Ed. It is a unique program that we had, but it's been developed from my association with the Ford Motor Company, working with Ford engineers, working at the plant in Geelong, like assisting the plant in Geelong when they were manufacturing there.
Yep.
Broadmeadows as well. You know, FBV, just built that relationship.
Yeah.
We were doing the Barra engine as a warranty exchange as well with dealerships. So it all started back in the Barra days.
Okay.
Or even
Barras don't break. There'd be no engines to
well,
to
they
go
had their
through.
little issues.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought they were the bee's knees.
Until they read through Colin's
Probably a little bit of
No, they'll
secrecy
find
there.
it.
I can't really go into too much though.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't go into too much, but they did have their issues with,
So Ford would come to you and say, "Can you remake this, but better?" And they would buy that from you rather than getting the engine from.
Well,
the
it was
production line.
through the Ford Motor Company, so
Yeah.
we were backed heavily with the Ford Motor Company, but we were an independent business to Ford.
Yep.
Always we held independence.
Yep.
Yep.
But we had built our reputation of quality, using OEM's specifications, just built this program. But it actually started with the Ford Windsor in the AU days. They had horrible problems. American quality control on those,
Not ideal.
they were horrible.
Yeah.
And not trying to, degrade the AUs
it's just
because those TE50s and everything, they're just gorgeous, those things, and I think they're unique all by themselves with the Windsor engine. But what had happened, they like you said, when an engine would break, they would supply another brand new engine from the US. In it would go, they shoehorn it in. 2 weeks later, that'd break.
Yep.
And what had happened, it was the president of Ford, I can't remember his name there back then, he didn't like that. But he got to know.
It's not ideal on any level.
He got to know what our company was doing in a way, because we did some repairs. I did the Conrods. We had a good quality business. Just the relationship we built. That's, can you build this engine? This customer's had a lot of problems with this vehicle. So we did this beautiful blueprinted Windsor, and the customer was just stoked.
Over the moon.
Over the moon.
You're getting
what is this thing?
Yeah.
Better than anyone else.
And so that kind of evolved to another one and then another one, and all of a sudden we built this. Oh, well, Colin, can you do this warranty exchange program? Okay, we can give it a go.
Yeah.
Because then what had happened, there was problematic issues with. Well, first of all, there was demand on the plant. They couldn't build enough engines at the plant. So they were robbing engines from failed engines, which would rob, a vehicle being sold, really, because they couldn't supply enough engines. So, look, I won't go into too much with that, but that's how it sort of... So we were like another structure that would help assist the production,
the supply lines.
As a novice, I picture that the factory's got a stack of blocks just sitting there.
No,
but that
it's all just in time. All back to that lean management side of it, where it's they slip in and
that part's there when it needs to be.
When it needs to be, it's all cost. It's all cost exercise. Is what they do. So we actually started to develop this program, and look, it's taken quite a number of years to really. You can't perfect a program, but we'll get always improve this program, advance the program. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it started off, and we were dealing with the engineers in Geelong, and so we had a thing. Such and such dealership, this has failed, and so we then built up a relationship with dealerships nationally. Yeah. So every Ford dealership in Australia is our customer.
Amazing.
And now we're breaking into New Zealand as well. So we have global opportunities with what we do.
Fantastic.
So we now have this is an extensive program now with the Ford Motor because it's global. Yeah. There's no local manufacturer. Yeah. So we've been validated through global processes with our program.
Fantastic. So you've jumped through those hoops.
Yeah,
I suppose,
all those hoops. Mind you, in 2016 when it did fall over for us. That hurt our business. You go through ups and downs in any business. If you're a business, all business owners will understand that it can be a real rocky road. But we jumped on a program. It was the Ford Rangers, the 3.2s in the Rangers, the 2.2s, the 5-cylinder. Yeah, they've got their own internal kind of issues, but people love them. They're great. They are a really good engine. But if they're exposed to certain duty and climate and low maintenance sort of issues, they'll fail. And we have this program that
fording rivers.
Yes,
that'll do it.
They're designed to ford rivers, aren't they? Isn't that but it's not just Ford your company works with. There's other manufacturers.
Yeah, we did Crown forklifts. Land Rover, we were involved with Land Rover there for a bit. But the demand now with Ford, it's really isolated to Ford. Yeah.
So I saw on your website you've got Puma engines, you've got Cougar engines.
We do the Puma Panther. That's your 2-litre bi-turbo engines.
Which is in the Rangers. That's the little
Rangers, Everest. They do have them. They're still available now. You can buy them. Great little engine. Beautiful little engine. Just love them to death.
Do you have, the way you talk about these engines, Colin, do you have one of each on your wall? Just,
well, you can come over and no, I don't. No, sometimes I get sick of looking at engines every day, but no, we don't actually. It's just that passion of having that. We also do the V8, the Coyote engine, so we do that as a remanufacture.
So we're talking about a series of cats, like a series of cats known for their tenacity and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, they are.
Where does the Barra fit in? Because the Barra was named after
a fish.
So
I'd love to answer that. I wish I knew. But that's a great question.
The Barramundi campaign.
It's gone the Panther of the cats.
I know. Tenacious little nuggety.
Well, there's the Lion. There's the Lion engine. So you got the Lion, the Panther, the Puma.
There you go. One of these isn't
Coyote.
the same. One of these doesn't fit in.
One of these doesn't fit. And yet it might be the best one.
It may
hang on. There is. It's called the Nano.
The Nano.
There is a Nano.
What's the Nano? Means really small.
That's the petrol engine in the Raptors. So a 3-litre petrol engine.
Yep.
They're an EcoBoost engine.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They're
Is
quite
that
a
the
unique
same as
engine.
in the Mustang?
No,
different
totally. The
one again.
V6.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yes.
Twin
the
turbocharged.
Mustangs are 4, isn't it? The EcoBoost.
They go they're just outstanding with their performance. Brilliant engine.
Well, this is a very interesting business. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
I had no idea that would be a thing.
Yeah,
It sounds
no,
like you've
it
carved
is
that
unique.
niche and-
It is unique.
Yeah, that's great.
Very, very much unique. And like, I guess, Ford are our number one
Yep.
in industry. We've got our best interests to look after Ford as best we can. We love the program. The people in my workplace love doing what they're doing. We have a good purpose. I believe we have a good purpose. But we also provide, in the world of, recycling and with our remanufacture, it has good sustainability because we give a component, a product, another life.
Yes.
So, the block will have the crankshaft will have another life. The conrods, the cylinder head, we'll remanufacture to very high standards.
Yep. I think people lose track of that, don't they? They lose sight of that.
Absolutely.
And it's just, the car's a write-off. It's no good anymore.
Yeah.
But if we can recycle and use the bits...
David and I spent half our life at the bloody wrecker, buying stuff for our old cars. But
Totally.
I love it because A, I love the hunt of finding that elusive part.
Totally.
But B, it's
Love it.
recycling.
Exactly
and
right.
I love that.
It is.
one car dying or hitting a tree. Well, there's a lot of like donating your organs, isn't it? There's a lot of good bits that can be pilfered and used on something else.
And I've just returned from Amsterdam last year, and there was a remanufacture program or a conference over there.
Yeah.
And in Europe, it's just massive. The circularity of reuse, reusing, and there's good government support. But I think it is heading this way. But how long it's going to take? It's very linear here. You dispose, even though you talk it, they recycle, but how are they recycled?
Well, yeah, cars are X amount recyclable plastics and whatnot, but you don't really know where it's all going or what it's doing.
No.
And that's not to sort of pinpoint that at all. I mean, I think recycling is important for our environment.
We can
but
probably
I think
be better at it.
We put the remanufacture stamp, which is not recycle, it's reuse.
Yes.
So we try and sort of explain that to people, and we're looking at bringing a process from Italy called PTWA, which will reclaim and so we can reuse blocks back to a standard bore size without sleeving. And
really?
it's a really cool process that we're looking at bringing across to Australia now. Hoping to get some support with that through governments and
Excellent.
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
Now, what cars? Sorry, David, you were going to say
I was probably going to say exactly the same
thing. What cars haven't you owned? What's on the list? We talk about a mood board, a vision board. What do you dream
GT.
about? Oh, okay, easy. Bang, there it is.
Okay. You didn't have to think much about
that. Now,
I do have a Ferrari though. I'll have to.
What do you have?
A 360
Oh.
Medina.
Yeah, that's
just because it's probably one of your less expensive Ferraris.
Yeah,
but it has that. Ferrari.
It's the Mondial of the new millennium.
Look, I've built V12 Ferrari engines.
Yeah,
I've built a 250 GT engine before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just
that's handy. You might need it in the future.
No, the Ferraris, like as quirky as they are, they can give you a real lot of trouble. But it's just that's part of it though.
Yeah.
It's part of owning something unique vehicle, whether it's a Ferrari or whether it's
there's a charisma. There's an undeniable charisma about that.
A beautiful French car or Renault or anything. They're just
he looks
unique.
At me.
I know. I had to put that in.
I
Sorry.
know.
Yeah. But it is.
But
It's
no,
just
you're
that
right. You're right.
uniqueness. It's that passion for automotive.
It's the same
that we
in
have.
relationships. If you were in a relationship with someone who went to work at the same time and came home at the same time, and you ate the same thing every day and just worked, well, you're bored. You need something to cling to,
do,
and that's your Ferrari. That's
the
yeah,
Ferrari.
Quite a one to cling to too.
Well, it is. It is.
Do you take it out much? Do you track race it or anything, or do you
No, look,
fang it
you
when
know
you feel
that
like it?
racing side of it. That's something that I have a passion for motorsport. Like you wouldn't believe. I used to have engine dynos. We did engines for the Sportsmans and the Oscars out at the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Wow.
We did a lot of those engines for Eddie Albonico. I think he had a
Yep.
one, and I think one of our engines still holds the track record there. And
that's cool.
So I was, but as in business motorsport.
Yeah.
It is a real tough one. Motorsport is great though. I love motorsport, but I
well, especially for someone like you who's whose whole operation is around maximising performance.
Correct,
too.
correct.
It goes hand in hand.
But it's the thing when you take it on the track, what you do to that vehicle. That's what I can't cope with that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to hit into the wall and go, oh, what have I done to it? You know? Yeah, or bumping fenders and all that sort of stuff. No, I just personally can't do that. But I do love motorsport. You know, we all love motorsports.
Now, is there anything else hiding in this collection that I need to know about? So if there's the Ferrari, there's the Mustang, there's the XY.
There is the XY.
What else is sitting
Oh,
in there?
just as a street, I think it's the Porsche Macan.
Yeah,
the SUV.
SUV.
A sensible SUV.
Do you know, Porsches they're unbelievable, those vehicles.
You like the Porsche?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So what?
But I don't think I'd own a 911. But 911s are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They are just, they're one of those sports cars.
But obviously you're more
timeless.
Ferrari than 911 if you had to.
The problem is I don't fit in a 911.
Really?
I've got really long legs, right? And just the seating position of where you sit.
That surprises me.
Look, I think they're just designed. Maybe the newer 911s might be more, you know, the GT3 or because I really love GT3s. They're just wow. You know, I love watching the GT3 racing.
Carrera Cup.
Yeah, the Carrera Cup.
Yep.
Brilliant. And they sound spectacular.
Yeah,
those
they
things.
do.
So
They do.
I do like the Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really like most car manufacturer or manufacturing.
Yeah, they all do something well.
They all do something. That's right. They all
There's
do
not
something
many
well.
dud cars on the road
Yeah.
now, thankfully, compared to...
They all feel pretty good when they're new.
They do.
They do.
There's a great site
How they age is
with a guy we
different
should get on called Redriven, and he
Yes.
drives these. You know, all cars feel pretty good when they're new, but you know, with 100,000 k on them and 6 years or 7 years, how are they holding up? And his whole site is driving used cars basically, and saying, well, okay, with the benefit of hindsight, are they any good? You know, like
3 things we like about this, 3 things we hate about
yeah,
this.
3 things we like, 3 things we hate. Yeah. So and he's not linked to any manufacturer, so he's kind of just coming in with this completely unbiased view of these used cars, and that's interesting watching. I find
It's funny. I did have a Jaguar XJ6 in
like
part of the.
I do like those.
Yeah, my wife didn't.
Did it break
broke
down?
down.
Yeah,
That's why.
I broke down.
of course.
I don't want this car. Get rid of it now. Get rid of it.
But it's so.
But it was a
beautiful,
beautiful
honey.
car.
Look at
Though
it.
it was
Look at
like
it.
Stunning
just
interiors.
the leather, the
Beautiful
dash,
ride.
once again we had the Jaguar inline 6-cylinder.
Yeah.
Beautiful engine.
Lovely.
Just lovely, you know.
Yeah.
It was the injected one, so it was I think it was 80s, I think it came out.
Series 3.
Okay.
Series 3.
Yeah.
Series 3 XJ6.
Pepper pot wheels.
Yes.
Nice. A lot of
When they were
little
running,
circles.
they were
when they're
beautiful
running,
things.
They were.
When they were.
Oh, and then the transmission started leaking oil and
I think they were just a Borg Warner.
That was the safety feature, though, wasn't it? Because as long as they were leaking oil, you knew there was oil.
There was
in
oil
them.
in it.
oh, there was always
Yeah.
oil leaking.
Yeah.
You know, there's a-
British.
there's
It's
a
British.
That's
It's
right.
gonna happen.
And I think the injection system, like when it got hot, it wouldn't pick up, or it was used to evaporate,
Australian weather.
and it just wasn't designed for Australian conditions. So
No.
lovely car though, lovely car.
yeah.
But, it's just one of them.
Well, I think we'll need to get you back on when you get that Ferrari 250.
Mm.
I think that'll be the
That'll be day, but
well, nothing wrong with having something
Keep
to
working.
aspire.
Keep working. Keep
Exactly.
doing the thing with Ford, and you know that'll fund it.
no. Well, when you're involved in this industry and our automotive, and whether it's you're right, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing transmissions or axles or brakes or servicing of vehicles, it's just if you love it, you have good purpose.
That's right.
And it's purpose for the industry. It's just love it. Yeah,
It's great.
love it. Yeah.
Problem solving.
Yeah.
On that note, we probably should say goodbye.
We probably should wrap it up. Wonderful to meet you.
Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ed. Been
Our
wonderful
pleasure.
chatting.
As we always say, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.